As I wrote in the chat box, we're going to just take you through the best way to get to some of our favorite Camino routes. And if you have any questions, pop them in the chat box, or at the end, you can also unmute yourself. Obviously, you might have a route in mind that you want to go to and you're not sure how to get there, or this might inspire you either way. Welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time at a webinar. My name is Sarah and I'm in marketing here at CaminoWays, and I'm joined by Jeremy, who will also introduce himself with his lovely CaminoWays background.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Sarah. Welcome to our webinar this evening, or this morning, or this afternoon, wherever you are. We'll go through, as Sarah said, some of the best ways to access the Camino and some of the most popular routes. And as Sarah said, please ask the questions via the text as we're going through, and we'll try and get to them as we go. And then we can have a Q&A at the end as well, if we have time. All right, that's it. Thank you very much. So let's take off, Sarah.
Perfect. So just the outline is Jeremy's going to take us through a bit of what we do here at CaminoWays, in case you're not familiar. And then we'll go through some of our favorite Camino routes and ways to access them. Okay, so Jeremy, I'll let you take it away.
Very good. So at CaminoWays, obviously, we look after tours on the Camino de Santiago on lots of routes, and also the Via Francigena in Italy. We provide walking and cycling tours. Generally, people who book with us will be self-guided. So we just look after all your accommodation and all your luggage transfers, and then any other services that you may need that are available. And the guided tours as well, they go on specific dates on specific routes, and all can be seen on our website, CaminoWays.com. For the accommodation, we use hotels. We don't use hostels, so everything from equivalent of 3-star, and we can upgrade you if you wish. The luggage transfers are what people really like about us as well, because we will pick up your main luggage and bring it to the next hotel while you walk with your day pack. And of course, all of that can be tailored to suit how you want to do it within reason. And then also, while you're on tour, we have a 24-hour assistance number, which is there to help you if you need anything, any assistance while you're on the route. So the Camino de Santiago, we work, as I said, on many of the routes, the most popular ones. And so we'll just run through them very quickly here. If you're not aware of them, the Camino de Santiago is pilgrim routes that all finish in Santiago de Compostela, which is in northwest of Spain. Santiago de Compostela is I suppose, the resting place of St. James the Apostle. And since I suppose medieval days, people have been making pilgrimages to the crypt of St. James, which seemingly, if you make it to the crypt and touch the crypt, it'll absolve you of all your sins. But generally, people walk the routes now for many, many, many different reasons, not just religious reasons. And you don't have to be from any religious background to walk the Camino at all, but you can if you are. So it welcomes everybody, essentially. So the main route, the most popular route, is known as the French Way, funny enough, and that's the yellow route you can see going from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, which is just across the border in France, crossing the Pyrenees on your first day, and then you're coming down into Spain, and then you cross the whole of northern Spain there, from Pamplona, Logroño, Burgos, Leon, some fantastic cities walking through, finishing from Sarria into Santiago de Compostela. The second most popular route is the Portuguese way, going from Lisbon all the way up to Porto. Porto being the main starting point for people, and then walking across the border into Spain and finishing in Santiago de Compostela as well. And then we have the northern way, going across the northern coast of Spain from San Sebastian, Santander, Oviedo, Bilbao's in there as well, and then down towards Santiago de Compostela. And then we have the English way, coming from Ferrol in the north, or Coruña as well, coming down into Santiago de Compostela. We also do the Via Francigena in Italy, which is the Camino to Rome. We do that from through Tuscany and then finishing in Rome. It's about 4 weeks. That route in itself is huge. It comes actually from the UK all across France, across the Swiss Alps and down into Italy, but we only do it from Tuscany down to Rome. And so, yep, that's that. Thank you, Great. Sarah.
Thank you, Jeremy. So obviously, when you're starting your research for the Camino, the key thing you need to figure out is well, firstly, where are you going to start your Camino from? How do you get to your Camino starting point? What airport is closest to your ideal route? once you land. So two websites that I and we here at CaminoWays have found very useful, and also my personal life as well, are Rome to Rio and Google Maps. That's a really good starting point if you're trying to figure out how to get from A to B, but you're not sure if you're going to get a bus, a plane, a taxi, what's the best option. So it's really handy to figure out via Google Maps or Rome to Rio, and then obviously go on to the actual airline websites and train and bus websites from there. Just because obviously, as great as Rome to Rio and Google Maps are, it's good to still go on to the official bus, train and plane website, so you're sure that what you're planning out is actually what is the correct thing. From this though, so we've got planes, trains and automobiles. We do have our few routes. So the main airport is Santiago de Compostela Airport. As Jeremy said, most people do finish their Camino in Santiago. So odds are you're probably going to be flying home from Santiago, whether that's an airport transfer via one of the big international hubs, or if you're living somewhere within Europe, you can possibly get a direct flight as well. So trying to get to Santiago is great because it does suit the majority of the routes, especially if you're doing the last 100 kilometers. You can either get a train, bus, or a taxi service to all of these starting points. There are also, as I said, if you're flying from a country that doesn't have a direct flight to Santiago, you can connect via Madrid, Barcelona, and a number of other international hubs as well. So if we take it route by route, the Camino Frances, as Jeremy said, there's a lot of lovely stops along the way. The best airport for this, if you're doing the 100 kilometers, is Santiago. And if you can't fly direct, you can go via Madrid, which is 2 to 4 hours from Pamplona, Logroño, and Burgos. So if you're doing a section of the French way, you can fly via Madrid and get a train or a bus. Barcelona, a bit further away, but if that's your international hub, it isn't too far, maybe about 3-4 hours from Pamplona. And then from Paris, you can get the TGV, their train, all the way down to Saint Jean Pied de Port, the beginning of the French way. Obviously, you can get flight connections too, but if you would rather travel by land once you land in the country, there's some of your options. And I'll take Portuguese as well. So if you're doing the Camino Portuguese, you want to probably start in Porto. It's more common to go Porto to Santiago than Lisbon to Santiago. If you don't have a direct flight to Porto, you can fly via connection from Lisbon. Alternatively, you can get a train from Lisbon to Porto as well. It's about 3 hours. It's a really nice, I did it last year. It's a really nice view. And then some airports like Madrid and Barcelona will have connections to Vigo. But as I said already, you're better off flying to Santiago if you're starting in Vigo. And Jeremy, do you want to tell us about the connections for the Camino del Norte?
Yeah, absolutely. And as actually you can see probably some more of the airports there popping up as we go. So the Camino del Norte is probably one of the best access points. And no matter where you want to start the Camino, there's always an airport to get you close by. So along there, there's San Sebastian, there's Bilbao, Santander, there's Oviedo, Coruña, all along the north coast of the northern way. And funny enough, actually, San Sebastian and Bilbao are not bad options if you're doing any of the central sections of the French way as well. If you want to get down to Lyon or down to Burgos, they're quite good to fly into as well. Now, for a lot of you who are flying across the Atlantic or flying from further afield, you won't get there in one flight. You're going to have to transfer through another hub. So as Sarah mentioned, going through Barcelona, Madrid, Lisbon, even France, or coming from America, even Dublin. There's some great transfers to those, what we will call European local airports, I suppose. There's a huge amount of flights will go there. As Sarah said, Santiago de Compostela, if you're walking any of the final sections and finishing in Santiago de Compostela, your best bet is to fly in and return out of Santiago de Compostela. Generally from Madrid, or Barcelona, it's not bad to get a connecting flight to Santiago. It's just much quicker, much more convenient for you, and it's going to get you to where you need to be very quickly. So really, travel is all about access. If you can't get to a destination, it doesn't become a destination. But you know, the Spanish government has worked very hard to get there. One we haven't mentioned, you can just see in the very top there, and you can't really see the script, is Biarritz. in France. So Brits is quite good if you're connecting down to Saint-Jean-Pied de Port for the French way. You can fly into Brits, about an hour and a half transfer down to Saint-Jean-Pied de Port from there. Again, if you're flying transatlantic, you're going to have to get a connecting flight to there as well.
Yeah, great. And then do you want to also take the Camino Inglés as well, as you're on a roll?
Yeah, the Camino Inglés, it's a very short route. It's just over 120 odd kilometers. You can walk from either A Coruña or from Ferrol. Generally, we only do it from A Coruña because from our Ferrol, you're kind of going back on yourself. So, but there is again regional airports in A Coruña. And that's good to land into if you want to walk this route, if you're coming from the UK specifically, because there's quite a lot of flights into A Coruña. But then again, you can fly into Santiago de Compostela, transfer your 100 kilometers up to the starting point and walk back to Santiago de Compostela. People sometimes say to me, well, God, if I'm flying into Santiago de Compostela, is that not going to spoil the surprise? The airport is about 25 odd kilometers outside the city, so you don't really see the city. So it's not really going to spoil the surprise. So you can stay well away from the city before you walk into it as well. So it's really a great airport.
Great, thank you. So we mentioned the Via Francigena as well. So if you are going to Italy, obviously Italy, huge long country, but the best airport if you are doing our route is Pisa. It's only 30 minutes by train to Lucca, which is the start of our Italian section of the Via Francigena. So you can walk from Lucca to Rome, or you can do Lucca to Siena in Tuscany. So Pisa is your best bet. It is a slightly smaller airport, so if you're coming from further afield, you might find it easier to get to Rome, Florence, or Milan. There's a really good train network in Italy, so you can get a train from Rome all the way up to Verona, and it stops in Florence along the way. So in Florence and Pisa, as you can see on the map, they're not too far away from each other. It's a little bit further away from Lucca, but not dramatically so. So Pisa would be your best bet if you are planning to do the Via Francigena. And most airlines and most countries do fly into Rome, Milan, and Florence as well. So it is it's easy enough to access it, which is great, and the public transport as well is very good in Italy, which you might not think, but it's pretty good, especially the trains. And so just some general tips. If you are traveling from within Europe, it's going to be a lot easier, especially to get to those smaller hubs. But if you're traveling from the US or beyond, whether it's Australia, Asia, wherever you're coming from, you are going to be landing in an international hub. It could be one of the Spanish ones. It could also be London. It could be Frankfurt, Paris. So wherever you're landing, once you get within Europe, it's a lot easier to get to these smaller airports like Santiago, Bilbao. Flight connections are a great option if it's especially at the beginning and you just want to get to your destination. But public transport and private transfers, we can arrange them for you, or you can make your own way. They are also useful to get to your starting point as well. I suppose aim to fly to the smallest, closest airport if possible, because it will make getting to your starting point and just being a little less tired a bit, it's a bit of a better option. And many destinations, yeah, they do have flights to the smaller airports. So I don't know, Jeremy, is there anything you want to add on that, especially for our friends traveling from further afield?
Yeah, I mean, if you are traveling transatlantic, definitely you're going to obviously have to go to an international hub. Just to reiterate that, you can check through into one of the smaller hubs. So when you buy your ticket, you start I suppose you put in your starting point, whether that's for New York or San Diego or wherever, or for the US or for Sydney if you're in Australia or wherever it may be. And you look for a ticket to Porto or to Santiago de Compostela, and it's going to bring you through one of the international hubs automatically. Rome to Rio was mentioned at the very start of the presentation. It is a great website. Literally, you can put in anywhere. You can put in your home address and then put in Santiago de Compostela. It's going to tell you exactly what to do and how to get there from your front door. So it's really handy for that. And Sarah also mentioned that we do private transfers from the airport to your first hotel. We can offer that if requested, but if it's got to be sensible. If you think you're arriving into Madrid or Barcelona and you need to get to a starting point that's on the French way or on the Northern way, you're talking hundreds of kilometers. So as Sarah said, the best thing to do is try to get to one of the regional airports, and then your transfer and your private transfer is not going to be as expensive then, and it's going to be very feasible for you. Yep, on that, I don't really have anything further unless anyone has any questions.
Yeah, perfect. Just before we move to check the questions, if you do want more information, I did put up a post on our website, CaminoWays.com, just last week. So it has all the airports and all the best routes. It has more airports than I've mentioned here today. And you can also leave a comment or drop an email if you have a specific airport question. I'll be happy to answer it for you as well. Yeah, so I think there's one in the chat, but if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself or write a question to the chat box and we'll be happy to help.
Yep, I see Nancy's popped a question in there. So hi, Nancy. It says I'm doing a short hike on the Le Puy. Some of the days are up to 26 kilometers a day, and where can I get a bus or taxi? So that's quite important on the Puy, which is, I suppose, a connecting route in France that we work with as well. It goes from kind of, I suppose, central France and Cahors right down through all the way to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. Does connect up with the Camino. It's not as well utilized, this route, as maybe some of the Camino routes, so therefore there's not as many towns or places that have suitable accommodation. Therefore, that's why you have some long days on this route. It's really unavoidable because there are some of the sections on this route don't even have any towns or villages, so that's why there are long kilometers. My advice would be, if you feel a day is too long, is to talk to your hotel in the morning or the evening. Book a taxi for the first couple of kilometers, not look for a taxi while you're en route. You're going to find that challenging.
Great. Just so that you don't have to ask a question about flights or transfers, if you have any general Camino questions, you can also ask those too. I'm just putting in the airport article that I mentioned, and also one we have about the top Camino starting points. So if you're not sure where you want to start or how to get to the starting point, both of those should help clear that up for you.
Very good. It seemed a quiet bunch this evening, so not too many questions coming in. Usually the questions are flying in, so don't be shy. Here we have. So from Rob, do most of the hostel restaurants, stores along the Camino accept North American credit cards, or is cash king? Obviously, credit cards are accepted pretty much everywhere now. It's become the norm. Cash is disappearing, but it hasn't completely disappeared. So all major credit cards are accepted in the majority of places. In fact, I'd say it's very rare that a place doesn't. But it's always good to have some euros in your pocket. Obviously, you're in the European Union, so euros are your currency of choice. So not bad. I always advise people to have about 40 euros in your pocket. With 40 euros, you're going to get a taxi to the next town for sure. You're going to get a hostel. You're going to get some food, and you can replenish that 40 euros if need be the next day. So it's 40 euros will get you out of trouble on any given day on the Camino.
And Mo, just on that as well, a few coins if you happen to get a bus, but primarily contactless is used in most places, even the tiniest little cafes throughout Europe lately, especially since the pandemic. So I don't think you'll run into many problems there.
Okay, so from Julie, we want to do the 500 hike starting in France, but want to start walking, then bike in the middle, and then finish on foot. How do we get the bikes and coordinate that? Well, essentially, if you're booking with us, if you're self-booking for that, it's going to be quite challenging. You need to find somebody who will hire the bikes. So essentially what you need to do is let us know where you want to start the bike, where you want to finish the bike. If you are booking with us, we would have to create probably 3 different bookings for you: the booking for the start of the walk, then the booking for the cycling part, and then the booking for the last part. We have done it before. It's definitely not against the norm. But yeah, if you just tell us all your details, and then we can put the itineraries together for you, if that hasn't been done already, and send you the information. As I said, if you're doing it independently, it is going to be quite challenging, but there are plenty of companies on the Camino that will hire bikes. You can Google them and they come up straight away. What are the routes like in late October? Is that too late to go? Late October is actually becoming more and more popular as the summers have seemed to become a bit longer. I wouldn't push it to be walking into November because the weather can change quite dramatically then. Northern Spain, you're probably looking at average temperatures in late October between kind of 15, 20 degrees. That can change dramatically. You will get rain more than likely. But yes, it's late October can be quite changeable. Early October is better. So maybe starting towards if you're looking at going in October, I would definitely look to be within the first 3 weeks of October to finish the route. So from Maria there, I have a group starting at Vigo. Are there any luggage transport? If you've booked with us, yes, there are. If you haven't booked with us, again, there are companies that will book your luggage transfers. They're not as easy to find on Google, but they are out there. But as I said, if you've booked with us, you'll have luggage transfer included as standard. But yeah, on most routes of the Camino, luggage transfer is offered, but I would pre-book it. I wouldn't try to do it when you're there.
Jeremy, sorry, just on that, one of them was a private message that came in instead of to everyone. What is the process for luggage transfers, and do all hotels have private baths, dinner, breakfast, and luggage transfer? Just because it's related to what you were just saying there.
So on the luggage transfer, how it works with us is that literally you have one bag, which is your main luggage. You have then a little bag, probably a 10 or 20 liter bag, which you carry your day requirements in. And you just, that bag is tagged. You leave it in the lobby at around 8 o'clock in the morning. Doesn't mean you have to check it out at 8 o'clock, but our luggage transporters will then come pick it up, and they literally bring it to the next hotel, leave it in the lobby where they'll pick it up again. So it works very seamlessly and very easy. So it's literally, you leave it in the lobby, forget about it. Then when you walk into your next hotel that evening, it'll be in the next hotel. There was another question there. Sorry, Sarah, was it about the hotels?
Do all hotels have private bathrooms, dinner, breakfast, and luggage transport?
With us, yes, all the hotels are private with ensuite loos. So yeah, they're all private. Yeah.
Lynn, oh, sorry, go on.
So Lynn, there we will be 2 women traveling together. Is it recommended to do one of the group itineraries versus independent? I think the Camino is very sociable. I suppose walking self-supported and walking with a group. You're going to have a guide with a group. You're going to have that dynamic straight away. When you're independent, you're going to have to find that yourself. But there's plenty. The Camino is extremely sociable. There's lots of people there who want to talk to you and you'll interact with. So I think depending on what you're looking for, it's extremely safe. The Camino, and it has been. I've been working on the Camino for 15 years, and I'm going to say there's never been incidents, but they've been extremely rare and extremely isolated. And there's over 1 million people who walk it every year, so for me it's one of the safest things you can do in this sphere. So yes, it's excellent for that. So no problem if you want to do it independently, and with a group. You do have that group dynamic that you will get along with. You will have a guide. You'll be very much looked after.
Mm-hmm.
If booked with CaminoWays and you suffer a walking injury along your route, how much adjusting can be done? So yes, if you're walking with us and you have a set itinerary and something happens to you along that way which prevents you from walking for a day or 2 or 3, unfortunately everything is pre-booked and confirmed. So what we advise is that you travel the route by other means, by taxi or by public transport. So you are keeping within the itinerary. It's not ideal, I know, but again, I've in all the years I've been working on the Camino, again, this is a rare occurrence, because it's not a dangerous route. It's a slow moving, good terrain. Not saying it doesn't happen, definitely it does, but it's a rare occurrence. You should be really getting yourself fit for walking the Camino, getting yourself ready, having your good walking boots or shoes, and having your walking pole as well. Always good ways to prevent getting an injury.
Jane has asked if she's coming from another trip, can we store her luggage while on the Camino?
Unfortunately we don't have luggage storage because you're moving from point to point. So if you leave your luggage at the start, it's going to stay at the start. If you leave it at the end, it's going to stay at the end. Now, if you're going if you're going to Santiago de Compostela and want your luggage sent directly there, there is storage facilities in the city. If you send us an email and if you have a specific booking with us, we could send you the address of where it can be sent for storage in Santiago de Compostela. In other locations, there isn't really an opportunity to store luggage.
Someone has said, do you have any companies that you recommend for travel insurance?
Yeah, travel insurance is an absolute must, especially these days, but it always has been a must. If you travel from a country to another country, travel insurance is pretty much essential. It's going to rescue you and save you from all sorts of things if anything happens. Even I always advise that as soon as you book, even if you're booking for next year or beyond, the minute you book your tour, that's when you take out travel insurance. You don't take it out the day before you leave or the week before you leave or the month before you leave. You take out travel insurance when you book the tour, because it will protect you if you cannot travel for any reason. I always suggest that there's going to be local companies within your own jurisdictions that provide travel insurance, and it's probably going to be better for you. But if you're looking for a company that kind of covers the globe, World Nomads is a very good company for travel insurance. We've no connection with them at all, and I highly recommend them. They're very good and offer fantastic packages. Travel insurance is not expensive, but can really get you out of a hole if you need it.
Okay. Chris has asked, we've booked the French Way starting in St. John. Just a question on lunches. Do most hotels provide packed lunches or are there places en route?
So the French Way is amazing for that because there's lots of places en route and it's really nice to stop and eat lunch and meet lots of people who are doing the same as you, walking the Camino. So definitely there are, and you'll find that they're in very strategic locations. So if you leave a place, the 2 or 3 hours, you're going to come across somewhere, you start coming across places, stop for coffee and lunch and things like that. Always top tip. So breakfasts in France, Spain, and most of Europe are continental, which means there's lots of cold meats, lots of bread, lots of fruit, lots of salads even laid out for breakfast. I always make myself a few little sandwiches quietly by the breakfast table and put them in my backpack and off I go.
On the Le Puy Way, are there places to eat on that route as well?
Not so much, as I said, it's quite a remote route. You will be passing through sometimes in villages. It's not an extremely populated walking place. There are plenty of people who do walk it, but not nearly as many as the Camino. So obviously, there hasn't been the same amount, I suppose, as services developed along the way. So definitely, if you're walking the Puy, pack a lunch, be prepared, pack enough water for a full day's hike. But you will come across shops and little villages and things along the way, so no problem.
Great. Okay, so we had a few messages.
Sorry, just on that. I mean, when you're hiking, I think always, no matter what, even if there is promises of places along the way, you should always ensure that you have enough supplies for a full day's hike, i.e. you should have enough food and water to get you through a full day, just in case.
Yeah, very important. You don't want to be stranded out there with no supplies. So that's all the questions we have here. There were a few by direct message as well, which I've replied to. We only have 5 minutes left on the call, so if anybody has a last question, now is your time to ask. Otherwise, just this is recorded, so it will be on our YouTube tomorrow, so you can watch it back at any stage. Also, you can email info@CaminoWays.com with any questions, or also contact us on social media as well, and we can answer your questions at any stage too. Yeah, I think I don't see any more questions, so we might leave it there. And yeah, thank you very much for attending. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day or your evening or your night, depending on the time. And yeah, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you very much. Hope you all enjoyed that, and we'll see you soon on the Camino.
Great. Thanks very much. Goodbye.